an uprising that can lead to revolution. And then in a fraction of time, the whole system collapses.
It must be a fragile system if it were made by just a few hands.
Yes, it is indeed.
No more lies, only truth.
Basically, it's a high-efficiency filter and heat exchange system. Perspiration passes through the first layer and is gathered in the second, where salt is separated. Breathing and walking provide the pumping action.
You have to control your emotions, and not to let your emotions control you.
Hey.
Impossible! Once the reaction starts, it'll spread to all the tribinium in the planet. Mars will go into global meltdown. That's why the aliens never turned it on.
Wholeness and balanced vibration to everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Astral Quest. Wow, it is an amazing day, and I'm personally just getting in tune with the show today. And there's been a lot of running around the studio, and we've been at it for about 72 hours at least, just putting together the proper program today, and so that we can share a special message. Obviously, we're in season 3. This is really the episode 1. This is the Muladhara chakra. And obviously, this is about getting your chakra developed, right? But I started thinking today, I said, you know what? I think the thing that I want people to really understand most is that this is not just about activating a chakra, like we're looking at a chakra as an object. This is about something that is integrally happening with you. It's not just something you have outside of you that you're building, like, okay, let me build this chakra and let me perfect it and let me make it the way that it should be and activate it, but not realizing that chakra is inside of you. So while this transformation is taking place, while this development is going on, you will experience the change behind that. And so if you remember what we talked about earlier, we talked about everything being vivid. We talked about that person is truly activating, then they should have some vivid three-dimensional correspondence to that, as long as you get your energy cycling properly and when it finally connects. And so what happens is many make the ascent, okay? And it's just like your body. They climb from the lower levels all the way up, and then they may get into even the crown chakra. But until you come back down and cycle the energy, just like you see a motor, it may go all the way in its first rung to the top, but and just not start up. So understand that the biggest part about this energy and this expansion that we have going on is that it is to turn on and keep running perpetually. So this is also what brings us to the Muladhara chakra, because it is the foundation. The root chakra is the foundation of all that. It is the generator. It is what's giving all the higher chakras, higher ideas, higher states of mind, the power to be able to compute and to process. So this is the major thing, because some may focus on crown chakra, crown chakra, crown chakra. But if you don't have a root chakra to power your crown chakra ideas, then those ideas will never make it into third dimension. And that's why the root chakra has a lot to do with third dimension. It is the symbol, in a sense, of this particular dimension that we're on, which I call sometimes Midgard. And then below us would be the netherworld, or the past, history, deeper foundations, deeper primordial goo, if you may. So I'm going to start off here and first just introduce the show. Obviously, today's show is called The Foundations of Levitation. And I like these new words like hot, cold, and or cold fire. And the reason why I've adapted these terms now is because I've come into full realization through experience more than anything, but also through reading a lot of these books and knowledge, is that you have two centers, two opposing forces in this chakra area. I'll say in that area, there are many opposing forces. So what you get to do today is you get to learn how to deal with opposing forces and how to use them as your benefit. Meaning that I've even had to come into realization in the concept of all is self, but not just the concept, but the application of all is self, that even division has its uses. And I'll give you an example, because sometimes it's all how we look at things. I always have a crazy schedule going on anyway, with all sorts of stuff to do. And then this was about 3 weeks ago when I was about to launch Astral Quest Season 3. And the intro wasn't even done yet, because my idea of the intro for at least 6 months or 5 months before we started Season 3 was to have an intro that went in and out of all chakras and showed what the feelings were and the correspondences to those chakras. And I always just visualize it as maybe a 10-minute intro tops, quite a long intro, but not a documentary movie, which is what we would be talking about, with something that would be expansive. So I would jump into the timeline or jump into my folder, adding content and things that were related to that. And when I finally got into the timeline, I realized, oh my goodness, I'm already 10 minutes and I'm not even done with the intro yet. So I started getting nervous, because the show was like maybe 1 week away. I get all the way down to the 5th day, and I've got now the intro in, and it's, again, like 15 minutes, and I'm not even explaining what I want to explain. So it was kind of getting stressful. And I went into the bathroom, and I had this epiphany. And the epiphany is that while I was thinking about this, and I said, you know what? Why not just do, I think actually I was in the shower, but I was like, why not just do one shot? The show is going to begin on that primary chakra. And then on top of that, you can do new intros every show. So every time you go to a new chakra, you could just do the intro for that chakra. I felt this release of burden all of a sudden. I said, oh, that's brilliant, because obviously it's all that's needed. It's not even overkill, right? And then I looked in the mirror, and then I said to myself, there must be some kind of power in division, because if you cannot tackle something that's this huge giant or huge powerful energy all at once, chip them down to size. Take it piece by piece by piece. Because look at the metaphor. Each chakra, you can't blow open all the chakras at one time. This is what some gateway drugs and some other substances and rituals blow open all the chakras at one time. And this means that the person is immediately thrusted into this reality that they're not prepared for. None of the realities to prepare for. All the realities are new. So imagine the state of that person's mind. It's beyond insanity, right? This is what I call when the wheels slip. So realize that the big part of developing a good root chakra is so the wheels don't slip, that you remain firm and grounded, and you don't get blown away by the cosmic dust as you go into an activation. But remember, this is a real thing. The reason why I'm here is to explain in my point and segment in time of my involvement in this world to humanity about this higher expansion of enlightenment that has been available since the beginning, since there was no beginning. And now it just so happens that our development here stems on our development and activation of these chakra centers, because I'm going to explain to you why. I talked to a physicist day before yesterday, and he asked me what was my explanation of chakras, and I gave him my overall explanation of the wheels and the cogs of time and the development of the world and things like this, and he nodded and he agreed, but because he was 55, almost 60, he had a little bit more on me, and he said, I'm going to tell you something. Really, also what the chakras are their organs, but for a higher body. And where you actually are is you're in an incubation to develop those organs. Now, you did the same thing before. You were in your mother's womb and you were developing this heart, this kidney, these dense organs you were developing so that way you can come out and do what you think is hear, see, taste, smell, touch. You develop these organs to do that. That's what they correspond to. So these higher organs, or these chakras, if you may, these more etheric organs, their development is to allow you to hear what you think is hearing, taste, smell, touch, and even beyond, as they say, the sixth sense. It's attempting to get you to do that in another world that is ethereal once they're fully developed. So this means also that you will not be leaving the matrix. I repeat, you will not be leaving the matrix until you develop the proper organs or etheric correspondences, the chakras, to get out of the matrix. You see, because when you turn on a chakra, that's when you become more aware of that this is not the only thing here. Just like now, there's millions of nanoparticles flying through the air, but I can't see them. If I take an electron microscope, I can see them, but it doesn't mean that they're not here. So how much is here? Limitless. I'm telling you, everything is right here, but you have to gain the ability to access it. So I want to explain to you something about particles. Okay, and the progress of ascension, because many people are taking different substances and supplements, and then some are having massive realities and effects, and others are having none. And so I need to explain to you how these particles or how these units of mass work. Now, first, you have the fat, what I call fat particles, and these are all my terms personally. Some of them are actually coined terms, but I'll call them fat particles, because this is when you're just beginning you're very dense, okay? And fat, to be quite honest, on the other dimension, okay? And so in order to streamline this body, to shave down this body, you need to use the proper elements that are going to smash right into that fat in a tense, not go right through it. So a fat particle to me in the level of healing is the Ayurvedic substances. And the reason is because the Ayurvedic substances have a lot to do with mineralizing your body again, like the Shilajits. These kind of things take the minerals that are on the base of things like the Himalayan mountains, showing you the huge mountain top, and then the base, which is where all of the minerals are formulating. That's what Shilajit is. And it's dark, it's brown, okay? So that's where all the minerals are. So that Shilajit is then applied to the body, and then throughout the body, the consistency of the fluids change. You become mineralized, okay? And this mineralization is what I call fat particles, the first foundation of the spiritual ascent. Because remember, most of this Ayurveda, if not all of it, is being pulled from trees. It's being pulled from the earth. Okay, remember, the earth element is not just dirt, it's also the trees, vegetation, etc. So these Ayurvedic elements are being pulled from there. So these are the strong fat particles, okay, if you may. And they're going to go the lowest level of the body. This is also what cleansing does, internal cleansing. You see, there's a lot of herbs that are used. It's the same thing. It's getting in there in the colon. It's getting there in the lower parts of the body, and it's saying, wham, 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 let me shape this up because I'm the tool that's necessary. You don't grab a nanoparticle to deal with the first dense side of what's going on with your consciousness. Just imagining, because the ego will say, shoot, go for the monatomics. Go for the highest thing, and then take it, I don't feel anything. Well, you have to go back and get with the Shilajits, the gene builders, the Chulins, the Simdis, the Gar-35, depending on your situation. And that's what's going to vividly be felt by the body as you begin your ascent, your climb. Okay, so let's talk about the next level. We're going to talk about levels in different things today, and it's going to be awesome because we're going to get a chance to do our Astral Quest thing, the inner outer verse, right? And we're going to go into some different spaces, but you're going to see all of this is the same thing. This is what Ruthenium teaches you. It merges everything to show you you're dealing with this over and over again from different levels, and you think it's different, but it's all the same thing. Let me show you again. Now, the medium particles, and I've been doing a lot of on enzymes, and I've gotten a guy who's the 7th highest climber in the world, and he's developed all these enzymes that they get into the body. And let me give you first a story on enzymes. Enzymes process all the food, the nutrients, mainly the metals, because some people are still thinking calcium is white. No, calcium is a metal, okay? So what is going to eat that metal? You don't see it as a metal now because it's a smaller particle, especially when they make it into a powder. They call it monatomic, any kind of powders, okay? So what is going to eat that? Because you may put it in your mouth, right? And you think, oh, I ate it. It's gone. It should start working. But being in tune with your body lets you know that's not what actually happens. First, this is just the intake, the portal. Once it gets into here, this is processing. And processing's got to say, okay, what do we got? What do we got? Oh, we got some calcium. Is it chelated? No. Oh, put it over there. Actually, put it on top of the pineal gland. What else do we got? Oh, we got some minerals from HMO, GMO. Oh, what are we going to do with this? All right, put it over there. So what happens to the body and minerals, right? Body's not getting any minerals. But even if it did, and this is the attack that's going on in your body, even if it did, it needs enzymes to process those minerals. And guess what? All the enzymes that you had when you were younger are actually gone now. Do a little research. They get killed within the first, for most kids, 6 months to a year. Based on the formulas, Similacs, and all these different things, they go in and the enzymes are overwhelmed because they got to process all these metals. Notice on Similac and most of these formulas, they're all metals. So by that time, all these enzymes are burned out. So all of your level of being able to process minerals is depleted. So no activation, because these minerals are the building blocks to the activation. It's just a generator. If it doesn't have the right consistencies for conductivity, it ain't going to turn on. And that's what's called incubation. That's what's called sleep, okay? So let's get into this a little bit deeper. So I'm identifying, again, enzymes, medium particles. I'll get with you more on that in our research into that, and obviously we're going to see if we can get a hold of some of those and get them to everyone. But the reality is that these enzymes, they process these metals. So enzymes work directly with colloids, which I'm going into next. Now, I call it small particles, and these are colloids. The other thing is I want to really explain really briefly again, need to come behind Ayurveda because it is a more subtle form. It's a medium particle, but it's exactly what you need as you begin to deal with the metals of the Ayurveda. Okay? And then this next stage, and this has to be, as we're going to talk about, this is about a regimen. This is terrain modification. This is not, I'm going to do this on Monday, do this on Tuesday, do this on Wednesday. No, you're going to stretch out this process. Just like this Muladhara chakra may go on for about 3 months. Who knows? It's no rush here. I'm not going to go and rapidly put together the foundation. Done. And then we get way up there and whoa. And then remember, when you fall from the first 3 steps of the ladder, it doesn't hurt as bad as when you fall from the top of the ladder. Okay? So remember that. This is not about rushing to the top of the ladder. What am I going to do? I'm trying to get out. I got to get out of Matrix. There's nowhere to go but inside. Okay? So get that into your system to stop forcing your energy to come out like this, boom, 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 and bringing it back in like this and start becoming the cycle or the cycler or the generator of this energy. Okay, let's not get off topic here. The colloidals then become what feed the enzyme. So the enzyme is alive. All this stuff is alive, and it needs something to eat too. And this gives you the Ouroboros symbol. This is ad infinitum spirals. But people are not talking about those spirals are consumed, the energy consuming itself creates the spiral. So if you zoomed in on the spiral, you would just see things multiply consuming themselves. And anytime the chain is broke, that's like when the ecosystem is broke. When you remove an animal that is integral to the system, the entire system breaks. These enzymes, this Ayurveda, these live nutrients are part of that system. So with the colloid, it will be digested by the enzyme. Enzyme says, I love colloidals. But then when the enzyme, after it's full, the first card on the tarot, the fool, Foolfull, after it's full, then it digests the enzyme. Or excuse me, the colloid. In its digestion, its feces, its fecal becomes your food. So he goes, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Look at what the plants are doing. The cows and horses' manure is their food. So our food is something else's manure. You see, this starts to connect it, right? Like, look at the show twice. It'll make sense if it doesn't make sense now. Monatomics, okay? The biggest thing that just came up recently, probably the last 3 or 4 months within my life, has been the massive discovery of monatomics, nanoparticles, and these kind of things, and how they give infinite space to do what is necessary to be done. See, some people, they're always thinking big. That's what it is with the giants and the titans, right? They're always thinking big, thinking mass, and they think there's power in mass until they see the quark, until they see the atom, and then realize that what is inside of this nanoparticle or monatomic space is infinite space for anything to be created and for it to grow with no interference. After all, no one can even see it because it's not in time. Okay? That's what I'm dealing with now, is that elements that are not in time because they're not subject to time. That's why monatomics directly affect gravity. Okay? Now, what we're talking about today is how to make a monatomic inside of you perfect, because you're already producing monatomics. Think about it. What your body actually has the ability to do, the male body has the ability to take all of the genes of the male and make them into this small, minuscule little living organism, right? So it just made a monatomic then, is what I'm telling you. The compression of seeds. Okay? So this is some deep stuff, but it's actually very simple. But this is your roots, and you need to understand this. Now, let me see something here, because we're going to take a few breaks today. Like I always say, man, I'm be thirsty or something like that. Like even right now, I need to get some water. Hopefully someone on the other end is hearing me. And I say, oh, we're going to take some breaks. But, we're actually going to take some breaks. And then when we come forward, we're going to get into exactly what's going on in the U.S. and many other countries, almost all of them, with the status, because we got to start at the roots. Okay, we got to go in the beginning, like what happened? What are we dealing with here? Give me the state of the union, okay? So as me being a person who cares about everyone on the planet, in the universe, all species, all itself, I need to give, for this particular system, a statement of what is going on based on my knowledge. Now, where much is given, much is required. They're watching me now. They don't stop watching. We're on the first page of Google for the keyword, the resistance. So what do you think I think? I'm here to teach them. Why they watch, they learn. I have their books, I have their documents here, meaning some of the stuff that got lost, a lot of it is here somewhere. And I photocopy it from time to time. As you'll see after we come off this break, I've taken one photocopy that's come out of a book that has been hidden. It's not something that everyone will have privy to. You will see it really nowhere on the internet. And I'm going to show you what is the real blueprint that is actually running in the world today when we come right forward, as I always say, wholeness. All right, so I'm forward again. So I'm going to start off by first a disclaimer, because I feel like, it's not like I'm worried, but I feel like sometimes if we don't understand what we're really dealing with here, then there's this roller coaster we get on with hanging on to every last word, to whether you agree with it or you don't agree with it. And this becomes a problem. It's like the same thing as with learning something. When you're learning something, you have to be so in tune with that you don't know it yet. That's why you're going to go and learn something. But if you're constantly judging what you're learning, imagine looking at when someone's trying to deliver to you the ability to do algebra, and you're saying, well, no, that's not what that means. And I don't like the 2. The 2 is not my number. I don't like number 2. I'm rather a number 3 guy. Okay, let's do a problem with number 3s only. And actually, 3 means M. So I don't, you see, so what happens is that as you're continuously analyzing everything, which is the disease of the mind, judging it. And in a reality where everything is all connected, passing judgment on one thing or another makes you divided, right? So if you're trying to become whole and you're trying to learn something, it's not a good idea to be in division mode. So I want to explain this to you as one of our primate or primal instincts. And our primal instincts are in every tense emotion, okay? Because emotion has a lot to do with our senses. It's in fact our nose, and it's in fact how our body is functioning. Sight, hearing, taste, smell, touch all connect into emotions, right? There's pros and cons to this. Because what happens is that if you're always reacting based on the emotion, if someone says, "Oh man, you're a great person. Oh, thank you. They like me. They say good things about me. It's good. I feel that. I love to feel that way." And then if someone says, "I don't believe in anything you say. I think you're stupid. I think you're silly." Who's that person? They're so stupid sheeple. This is the issue. Because what happens is that you're on this roller coaster and everyone's involved. And I'm telling you, only the adepts are not involved in the tell me something good, you tell me something bad. And because what happens is that a person who doesn't have a balance on their emotions, thus a balance on their energies, exhausts a lot of energies. It's like spinning, no matter what you're spinning it on. So even the people in the high states, these so-called high states of consciousness and crown chakra states of consciousness, burn a lot of energy in the ideas of their projections of these fairy worlds and the guided beings and all these different things. So realize first that your energy is shifted through emotions, okay? And this shifting is the generator of this dimension. So this dimension is really counting on that it can get you to it's counting on it can get you to judge. Okay? That's what this all boils into. The dimension is counting on that you judge. Because when you judge, there's motion, there's action. Now, a friend of mine was telling me, do a simple calculation. If each cell pushes off 2 millivolts, and you have billions of these cells in your body, how much voltage then is really running through the human being? It's always there, it's always present, whether we're utilizing it or not. So we have a lot of power, even just keeping this thing going, and you just being there on the computer, that takes a lot of power to do, more than you think. And so that's why there's this unlimited power to be accessed. But before we get into the unlimited power, we have to talk about those who have harnessed the unlimited power, who have sought to create a system that is a micro universe functioning in imbalance. This is what I'm referring to as the blueprint. So let's go ahead and get this page up. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about in regards to this blueprint. So this scan-in that you're looking at comes in from a book that few have access to. The law and the rule is that if you have the book, upon death or upon knowing you are about to die, you must return the book. This was about 300 years ago, 200 years ago. Okay? And what you're looking at here on your screen is you're looking at a charter. And this charter isolates a few things. And it's going to give you a major insight as to what is going on. But it's going to be a reconfirmation, because there's quite a few people already out right now and there's a lady that was working with the World Bank. She was a lawyer, and she told everyone that there was a new constitution. It was 1871. It basically made everyone a chattel, which is actually a real term in the legal system, which means basically property. So the term is not sheeple, it's chattel, okay? And this system enslaved everyone in the United States, black, white, blue, purple, whatever color you are. So what I want to talk about today first is I want to talk about this system of what I call a tiered slave breeding ground. And what tiered slaves are is that having all slaves that do all the same job is not as profitable. So having different kind of slaves, even a super slave, is what the intentions were when designing the United States. And it's a lot to say. It's almost flooring to me personally because I've had a lot of belief in the United States, and that has just switched to the belief in the people. I'll say that. I have a lot of belief still in the people of the United States, but you have to realize what exactly happened. So this blueprint is as such. The indigenous, and you can actually switch back to me. The indigenous are the netherworld. Okay, so if you remember in the United States, there was large groups of indigenous people there that were wiped out. And they cultivated the place in a certain way with energies, right? Like they mapped out the ley lines, figured out what places were sacred. Okay, and those people that we're calling Indians, they came from the Indus Valley, and those people in the Indus Valley came from Nubia. Okay, and then you can go and look at it all. It's just the same people, same kind of hair, right? Then they went to what we call India. They say Christopher Columbus thought that he was in India. That's why he called them Indians. All right, well, let's just take the metaphor. Are the people that we're calling Native Americans, are they the same as the people in India? Will they ever admit that? Not in the caste system. Even people that are right one village away from each other won't admit that they're part of each other. This is the division. That's called being routed. Okay? So what you will find in these projects that go on these planned nets, when they turn into planned nets, okay, is you'll find that the blood of the indigenous people make up the netherworld. Okay, and now all those sacred burial grounds and graveyards and all that, that's what's still holding up the spiritual world there and guiding people. Some people still get guides. Some people hear things and it tells them and suggests what they should be doing. They migrate to other parts of the land and they build their house there and they stay there. Okay, so there's still some kind of ethereal encouragement going on from some levels, either lower or higher. But I'm telling you, the indigenous built the netherworld because they built it in Angkor Wat. If you know what you're looking at, you can tell this is all netherworld stuff. This is when you build the composite beings. Same thing with Kemet. You've seen the composite beings being built. The face like the body like a human, face like a dog. This means all the traits of every single essence that are going to be needed are being infused into creating this particular new being. Okay? And so we'll keep going. You have then the Africans laying after the foundation. And I'm just talking about what goes on in the U.S., but the reality is this went on in every single country. The more perfected it was, according to this blueprint, the stronger that country is now with guiding itself into the wrong direction, but meaning under control. Okay? So then they come in with the Africans, and the Africans built all of the foundation to everything there. They have the color of the foundation. Okay? All of the grunt work that nobody wants to do. The cotton and all those resources that all these other beings are still using. And let me explain to you. The indigenous they're almost run off the land. They're still there in the netherworld. Most of them have been extinguished. Then the first layer, physical slaves actually working, moving around things and working with the sweat of their backs, etc. Then the next layer, they bring the Poles, the Slavs, and the Italians in as the laborers. Right? They're now on top of the foundation and building on that and building the buildings. And then they bring in the Nords and the Germans as the taskmasters. Okay? But here's something I want to tell you. In the entire perspective of this entire thing, everyone is in the same position, stuck in a matrix. Do you realize that even being the one who's doing the tasking is warping your mind if you're doing the tasking? It's actually you're beating. You don't even have a refuge. Like at least the one that you're beating, it's just say, oh, one day we shall overcome, and this is not what I'm accepting. So when I leave here, there's a better place. But the one who has been programmed, that they call a superhuman, meaning a super slave, Ubermensch. This is the word Ubermensch, super slave. That one doing the tasking is getting warped by the task, okay? Because everyone's in the matrix, in the same position. And that's why I said, you have to be able to do a micro-macro approach, because if you're in there, you'll be like, well, the Germans, they had it better. And then you go over here to the Slavs, they had it better. And the Poles are like, it was the Serbs. The Serbs had it better. They're always over. And the Chinese are like, yeah, all of you. You see, so this keeps up. This is the system. This is the blueprint. They love that. Each one thinking that they're greater than the other, but still. And then you got the people, I call them the superhumans, or as a super slave, right? So there's a superhuman, which means you've achieved greater potential of the entire chakra center and structure, and you're fully activated. And then there's Ubermensch, meaning that you've basically been educated by a false system, and you know how to do technology, and you know how to do all that kind of stuff, okay? And then that is your career, okay? Notice how you got these people, what do I have it written down here? Oh, my career. Super jobs, right? They got super jobs. They're working in this huge-ass factory with this Hadron Collider. You see, you get the play, you're still working for something else. And that's why I always say that on the top is this unseen being, meaning it is an energy that anytime you get involved with these kind of predatory systems and you get into the cogs of it and start doing it too, then you become subject to it. You can't get out of it. You can't see anything else but it. So now, today the keys are released to get you to see something else of what's going on. It's happening to all of us. And until we come together, it will not end. So as an ender, this is Ender's game, I'm going to put it all together, put us all together, be a bridge, okay? Bridge means people walk across you. You don't know what he's talking about. I know higher, I know more. And then they get all the way up there. And basically what they've done is they just used you as a step in the ladder to get up higher. And all I'm saying is, go. I'll be behind you in just a minute. And then I'm coming back down again, and I'm going to go back up. And then what's going to happen, though, remember, quarter horse runs fast, but it doesn't run strong. And that's why I say steady as she goes. Because as I come down the cycle again, I'm in no rush to climb the ladder. I'm going to push up a lot of people as I'm going up the ladder again. But this time I'm starting with the netherworld, right? And the interesting part is that the netherworld of your world, to most people, is the higher world. And let me explain this to you. And we're talking about, then, again, negative netherworld, okay? Your stars, your actors, and I won't even say they're yours in respect for a lot of the people that are on this line, but the ones who have alienated themselves into another state of consciousness, mainly closed, okay, and unbalanced, they are perceived as the higher people in this world, the Nas, the Jay-Z's, the presidents, and the Obamas, and the Queen, and all these kind of people, right? They're perceived as higher. But when I say we need to go low to the netherworld, this means we have to go and get them. If I say we need to go to the top, some people are like, oh, you're talking about the Queen of England? No. When I say we need to go to the netherworld, that's when we're going to go get the Queen of England and Anna, who's still in the netherworld trapped with her son, Damuz. You see what I mean? That's what we're going to do. So because those are the anchors, those are the eidolons, those are the states of consciousness that when they move, when they shake, that's the term of the Arabian, the most powerful of the Arabians, the shake. Okay? When they shake and they crack off the shell, then all of the things that are anchored to them are released. That's how demons are released from humans. When you shake, right, going into a high vibration, the shell cracks. The shell is the demon, okay? The shell is the shade, is Shaddai. The pentagram, okay? Like, think about all of what's being said here. And this knowledge, and let's go ahead and scroll into that picture again. This knowledge comes from Arabia. They were already dealing with the jinn. So what happened with our forefathers went into Arabia on this adventure like what we go into on PlayStation. And the adventure that they got involved in was a real one, though. And there were perils on the path, meaning beings that weren't even perceived yet and understood by many of the Caucasians that ran into Arabia attempting to forge agreements. Or vices. I have another document that is what's called a vice. And what it is it's basically, it looks like a contract, but it's written in Arabic. And the binding of it to anyone who signs it binds them to the jinn, the chief of them, which I won't get into right now, just not to get anyone infuriated on the line, because these are all fiery energies. So let me show you what they did. Notice how on this picture it says desert, hot sand, desert. Okay? Because what happened is these men were commissioned from Arabia to build this blueprint here in the United States. I'm actually not in the U.S. now, but to build the blueprint in the United States, meaning to actually build the same system that was a system of imprisonment, which is the Setian culture, okay, and the god Set of Egypt in the United States. That's why the whole thing is Egyptian in the United States. You see obelisks, see all this stuff everywhere, because this is the commission that they've been given. Now notice here in 2, I have these numbered. In 2, whether you can see that or not on your screen, what you'll find circled is 2 things. I want you to realize that some people, especially my melanin dominant friends, the ones that we love, they always look at things like this and say, see, black people right there on top. I told you, black people are on top. But not noticing what is in the hands. What's in the hands is all the goods. Okay? All of your goods were taken and given to who? And you see it on the top right corner, the 2 there, Set. Because that staff, which is connecting down the page, is called the Setian staff. Now, again, the initiated individual already is aware of all of this. Okay? And the deeper level of this is that in number 4, okay, the word you see there circled as number 4, if you had this copy, it's hard to see. It's easier to see now, but if you had this, these are called cryptograph, this would be a pyramid with the Sphinx sitting in front, okay? But when you just look at the shadow that the picture is casting, the head on the shadow, which kind of looks very similar to the anvil, is actually the head of Set. Okay? So this lets you know how deeply that this is involved as far as on the occult level. This is not a game here, people. This is not, oh, okay, they're playing around. Oh, they're so superstitious. No, okay, this is about another level of knowledge of tones and vibrations and entities that have extended across time, defeated time through encasing themselves in tones. Okay? So look at 6. The 6, it says the night of power. Okay? This means there's a knowledge of specific alignments that give more power to specific entities, mainly those who want to keep slavery going on. And that's why I say these religions, Christianity is a slave religion. You are a slave to that God. You have a conviction, a sentence, right? If you try to leave, you're convicted. You got to come back. At best, you're a soldier that will die as a martyr. Okay? So people need to snap out of it. Wake up, Alice. We're in something that's so deep. The level of knowledge that these forefathers was the ones we dealt with. Six fathers, Vikings, were also the ones that got dealt with also. They came out with horns on their head. Right? And they got the horn on their head. That horn on the head comes from Ethiopia. That horn on the head is Menelik, Moloch, the bull god. So now how is the papal bull even now associating himself with the bull god in Baphomet? Because it's all the same system. It's not about who does it belong to. That's what they love. Fight over it. Fight to be a slave. Think about it. This is my religion, my God. Oh, your God is... You'll watch the demonic energies and the malevolent forces have harnessed the energy of individuals of anger, because anger is the energy they love to deal with. They know how to master the fire. The symbol is of a Baphomet because it is a symbol of this root chakra. Why? The root chakra is male and female. Okay? It needs both of those forces to press down to generate energy. So the Baphomet is male and female. Okay? So there's the sign of the Baphomet is this. This is a mudra to clear digestion. Okay? So all the connection, the Baphomet is supposed to be the devil, and the devil is from hell, okay? And hell is hot. The root chakra is red and yellow, the colors of fire, and that fire burns up impurities. Impure people go to hell and burn, okay? This is the exoteric interpretation in Christianity, okay? So you see that all of this, like I said, the 7 churches of Revelations, those are the 7 chakra centers. Abraham and Sarah, Abraham and Saraswati, Christ, Krishna. You see what I mean? All of this is being plagiarized but changed. Changed several times, even back then. Don't try to find the originals. You're the original. Don't go try to find anything. It's here. Okay, so let's keep going. Last but not least here, understand the layouts of these kind of routes, like old school caravan, new school ley line. Okay, and these routes show from the Golden Gate. I always knew there was something about that Golden Gate Bridge, straight into the temple, and I believe that's in Indiana, right? But think about it. If it's Indiana, Indians, India, what's going on? Do your own math in your own head. Inward division. What is inward division? It's all there. It's in the etymology because the word is not even what we call an English word. Okay? Making sure my sound is on here. So obviously, let me say, I got a few more things to say about this image, and let me just make sure I cover everything because, again, we have no rush. Okay, so this is what I want to talk about. And this has something to do with your roots again. I already explained to you before, and you can shift the camera back to me, and we're just getting things tightened down here. I already explained to you before about what I'm just calling code name Akhenaten. This is that whole idea of mono, meaning there's only one, monotheism, in that there's no other gods, meaning there's no other humans, basically. Everyone else is on the low level, and this is the author of confusion, okay? Because once that starts, once this whole chosen thing starts, that means there's some that are not chosen. And then this opens up the tiers and the caste systems and all of this stuff that creates a lot of stress, trauma for these kind of organisms that we're in, okay? So the next stage of consciousness for us is to also understand how our genetics, because now we're all connected, I'm speaking from that perspective, all of us connected, now how our genetics have been run down, okay? And it has been done in succession. This is not something new. There's nothing new under these suns. Okay, this is about mind controlling and wearing down the entity until the point where they submit, bow down at least 5 times, 10 times a day. Who knows? Always in prayer, begging and asking for something to hunt you. Like this is the debasement, okay, or the basement. All right, and I'm getting to my nose, getting to my nose here. My senses show me that it's. I'm going to go past to the future. But the way I wrote it was from the future to the past. So I'm going to have to recite it that way and start with us, okay? This particular age. Now I'm going to show you the complete wearing down of the identity. Actually, let me try to do this because I wrote it down the other way, but let me actually try to do it the other way because, it's going to be quite complex, but let me just explain it like this. So, the designation, and just so everyone understands where this is going to get confused, is I have it as us, our parents, their parents, and then before them, okay? So that's the designation. So we're going to start before them, several generations back. 4, 5, 6 generations, okay? If we zoom in on the first round of the degradation of the gene, you'll see that the world was in diaspora. This is the condition that they were in. People were going from one place to another for some reason. Some say it's a flood. Whatever happened in Angkor Wat with why they say that the irrigation channels broke and all those people migrated to what we're calling the Indians now. Okay, so somewhere around that period, there was great upheavals, a world diaspora. There were some capitalizers also, though, meaning those who were in the higher reaches, the Alps, and these different higher mountain ranges, They didn't have these kind of lower land problems. Okay, so these lower land people also suffered great invasions, okay, where they were bought in and put under slavery and made and tasked to work for some oligarch, monarch, king, emperor, chief, okay? So this is the feudal systems, okay? And this is also even, I call it from the point of the Sumerian times. You know, the Sumerians, it says in their book, the first place they went was Punt, which is Nubia. The moment they come from the higher lands, they go into the lower lands in order to get their slaves and start civilizing and all these kind of things, okay? Let me show you something here, and this is what people are not realizing. Even in Costa Rica, the Mount Chiripo, which is the highest mountain range here, has seashells on top of it. So this means that this whole area was underwater not too long ago, okay, considering time. And so as we go back these thousands of years, you find that there's been a shifting to where everyone is. But there are many things that live here that know the places that don't get submerged or droughts or these kind of things, okay? And they navigate to those places. Many people know those places are in the center of the earth or very high mountain ranges, such as Tibetans. They live in those areas because those are the last areas to experience any of the issues with any kind of acts of God, as they call them, okay? So let's go then to see that our 4 or 5 generations ago, everyone was under already the yoke. Okay, so lots of beating, lots of torturing, lots of debasement. First sets of genes. Now, their kids, okay, their kids then dealt with slavery and mental abuse, meaning the capturing few survived, but their children became the slaves. So now they've been dealing with slaves, abuse from the slaves' masters, alcohol abuse was rampant. That was like the drug of the time, okay? Alcohol. You know, indigenous, look at the Indian tribes in the United States especially. What is the number one addiction that people from the Indus Valley and people from Nubia have? Alcohol, fermented rye, okay? Generally the plants that were most sacred to them as being connected from an indigenous level, okay? So these fermented drinks became their downfall. Now the genes go down even further, okay? So this is alcohol abuse rampant amongst Native Americans and European Americans. Debasing of all pride and a thorough erasing of all cultural insight, okay? This is to the black man and to the white man alike, and all spectrums in between. Because if you notice, even if you go into the books, if a Caucasian male goes into the books, he's told that his whole story and everything lies within another race. That's not true. These people have their origins too. Their origin is being erased. Same thing with us. When we go into our history, they're now trying to rewrite our history and say our history is in the hands of that man. And that's not true. Our history is where it still is. So the reality here is that all races are under attack by other races' cultures and religions, etc. So we keep going. One more level up. Our parents, we'll call it. War, either they were dealing with war or pacifism. You had these movements coming through, ultra pacifying everyone, these hippie movements, things like that, putting everyone on all the drugs, further tampering with the DNA. Why some were being aggressively enhanced to be more warlike. So you have peaceful people and very warlike people. Just not a good mixture. It continues. DNA continues to crumble. This is the advent of real drugs during this time. This is when LSD and acid and all these kind of drugs, while that they still offer some insights to the spiritual world, they don't give a complete spectrum of what's really going on in the spiritual world. How can they? A person doesn't even have activated chakras. Like, think about it. We're not, like some people say, well, you know, I think that hallucinogenic drugs are great because they expand the consciousness. Expand consciousness of what? Like, either the only thing that expands consciousness is a developed chakra center. Gateway drugs, depending upon what environment you're taking them in, has the potential to damage those chakra centers, thus giving a distorted perception of what spirituality really is. So when you pour New Age movement on top of it and pacifism, what you get is an entire ethereal kingdom of ascended masters that are just archon and eidolons. They don't even really exist. And all these people out in fairy world that could be doing something vividly about what's going on in reality with activating their kundalini, grounding that crown chakra energy, and then allowing the seeds of what they've gained, gleaning off of these higher truths, to be spread into the atmosphere of the individuals that need it. So we go on to us. Complete loss of identity. Meaning now all this history and all this kind of stuff even starts boring people out. I'll give to it. Yeah, I already know my history. No, you don't. You don't know your history as a powerful spiritual being, because there's no such thing as a history of that. Like, it extends into spaces with no time. So if you haven't got into that yet, then you should listen closer, because this is what's going to tell you how to actually get into it. Get into yourself. Because of realizing that this particular generation, now already dealing with this DNA that has been misconfigured, reconfigured, etc., are into the computers, the video games, the New Age movement, and this media pushes whatever it wants and tells the person this is what you should do, and then a lot of people just follow it because they have no roots. They don't have something that says, hey, I don't think you should do that. See, when you have roots, let me talk to you about what roots really are on a physical level. Roots are like great-grandmother, right? So if you sit with great-grandmother or great-grandfather, and then you see where their mind state is because of what they've been through, but also how they still have survived through it. When they see the stuff on TV today, or you ask, hey, is that even okay? It's not even in their whole diameter to even get involved. Okay? And this is because they are rooted and solid within what they believe in. We just still know that they are believing now and also things they clinging to this religious God and all this stuff. So this doesn't make them necessarily the authority, but you can learn from every generation the pros and cons and the perfection of our cycles. You see what I mean? How we can clean this DNA back up, bring everything back together and enlighten the species. This is how it has to be done, but you got to go to the roots. And this is what we're talking about with the Muladhara chakra today and the root chakra. You got to know where you came from. You got to know where at least the last 6 generations have been through turmoil. It's been Armageddon for them. Armageddon already started. Spiritual wars, physical wars, mental wars are all going on. Silent wars, noisy wars, they're all going on. So what we have an opportunity to do is end wars. And to end wars, you need to end time. Because time is actually what creates this fear of death. So anytime fear is present, then there's going to be a war. There's going to be a war for the resources, over who has what. The more population increases, without there really being an insight to the spiritual world, the exit basically, the realm that you can go to that has tons of space, then the organism only gets more stressed, right? And then it gets under pressure the more the population increases. This is why, and for those that are listening of malevolent or benevolent persuasion, realize if you're here, all of us are going to deal with this situation and are dealing with it right now. The more things grow, if there's not knowledge of another world and how to get into it, mainly into it, okay, then all of this whole idea of what reality is, whether you're benefiting or not benefiting, is going to change itself so drastically it will be unfathomable. You see what I mean? That's why this level and potency of information is actually coming out, because the alternative to what can occur cannot even be thought of right now. We have to open the valve, because what you're dealing with is you're dealing with a womb then, okay, and it's ready to give birth. Now there needs to be another place for it to go. This is very simple. Like, if the baby is almost about to come out, it doesn't matter if you're sleeping in an alley for the baby to come out. This is a real thing. Root chakra is about dealing with reality, not letting emotions, I don't want to hear about that. That's emotional. Listen to what's going on. The world needs to birth. There's no other worlds created. Why? Because the the reality, and we talked about this very difficult concept to understand. You had to get into physics. You got to get in high stages of consciousness. But the reality shows you is that everyone is here except for one person. And I have a large dissertation and conversation to explain this. But what it talks about is it talks about basically how these multiple worlds are created, these holograms. They're created with some initial being, the one, quote unquote, thinking about it all. So every time you, in being in the position of the one, think about something. I should go to the store today. I should do this. I should have made this move. I should go there. Every time you have those thoughts, worlds are created based on you making those thoughts. But the only thing those worlds are missing is you. It's deep, but this is the truth. It's missing you because obviously you just thought about it. You didn't fulfill it, but it's still there running. And then in those worlds, which are constantly inhabited, there's things always looking to inhabit worlds, okay? In those worlds, everyone is in there like everything is here except for God. Are we living in one of those worlds? In our consciousness. But think about it, in the external world, it's already going on. Everyone here pretty much doesn't believe that there is a God. They're playing with it. There's about 95% of the people don't believe there's really a God, even if they are religious, because they never seen really this God. And it doesn't sit and talk to them all day. It's not vivid enough for them, okay? So we need to gain bearing on what exactly is happening here. God is missing. So the supreme being, that's my perfected term because God is still Goth, the Germanic God, good. The supreme being is missing. Who's the supreme being? Who's the supreme being? You see? See, a slave won't accept that it's the supreme being. That's why the system uses slavery. It's not just, oh, let's make money, let's make money. They create money. What would be the purpose in that? It's to create a slave. A slave is a specific kind of energy that won't accept that it is the energy. Okay? Even though it's doing everything. Slaves that build everything. But supposed to be the lowest. That doesn't even make any sense. Surely the one who builds is the highest. So understand these dogmatic structures, even masonry, especially masonry, they say you're a builder, you're a slave. To free, doing it for nothing. Pharaoh is free. Doing it for nothing means that the energy is not cycling. Like there'll be people still here today. They get off the phone. They have tons of resources, but they won't give to this network or to any other network, really. They won't give anything that's actually going to really take a dent in what they actually have. They'll actually only give what is comfortable for them to give, even though they can distribute the goods themselves. Meaning that a lot of people say, well, I don't want to give my money to somebody and, they don't do anything. I don't want to, that's why I'm not giving my money away. You can go do it yourself then. Go take the money and go do something. It ain't that kind of party. See, we're playing games in our minds, and as long as the games go on, then the matrix will play. As long as the chakras don't develop, then the person will be in the matrix. So let's keep going here. We're going to actually get ready to take a break, but not exactly right now. Let me just make sure I finished off. We got about 30 more minutes left, and I'm going to go through the manual that I've actually sent because I've explained a lot of things today. And then now, when I add this last layer to it, it all should really make sense with the manual, why I'm listing certain things, why certain things are your allies, why they're that color. So you can intuitively find these kind of objects that you can resonate with. Because remember, all this is a mirror. This is not a genie in the bottle effect. You grab a jasper crystal that's dark, deep red because the energy that it is carrying corresponds to the dark, deep red chakra because it is a mirror of that chakra. Right? So there's no worship here. Let me do some water worship. Oh, water. Water worship. I tell you, water worship is probably better than worshiping gods. Why? Because the water, the moment you drink it, you can feel it. You can see what it's doing for you. You can get generation. So the elements then, and that's why there's 4 corners to this Muladhara chakra. The elements are the gods, okay? And so the perfection of these elements, perfection of water, perfection of wind, Perfection of wind, right? Perfection of sight. This means seeing things as they are, not how you want to see them, not fairy tale, right? Perfection of sense. Knows, I sense something, but not paranoia and not disinformation. You see what I mean? So perfecting of these senses, they're all here. Sight, hearing, taste, smell, touch, all can be done from this microcosmic universe here. Then there's a bigger one, our entire body. There's one in the torso. Most of the organs that do all of that is here. In the netherworld, believe it or not, this is the legs. There are base elements here. Okay? Makes it fun. It makes it a real Astral quest. Like you get a chance to see that you're really on the quest, whether you wanted to join or not. Because I don't know about that show. Well, know about yourself. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and take a brief break here. And when we come forward with the last part of the show, we're going to go through the manual, which will be upgraded. That's why I have it as version 1. Because as we keep going, next week's manual, or the week after's manual, will have more things added to it. And then when this is complete, this Muladhara Chakra Handbook, which is open source, you can go and give it to anyone. It's absolutely free. No copyrights, none of the craziness. Can assist a person with the foundation of what they need to do. Because if you think about it, why start anywhere else? But notice the reality and the personalities of most. They just want to go to the highest thing, but never want to actually do the work to get there. So they call slaves like that. You see? If you don't want to go and do the work, someone else has got to do the work then, right? But that's false, because no one can do the work for you. So this is why religions always contain these saviors and gods who supposedly did all the work for you. And then all you need to do is just pick up the book. Like some of the people, they get on my nerves in a certain sense, you know, if I tap into that kind of energy. But it's easy to pick up a Bible and to go and preach it on the mountaintops because it's already written. Go and create something new in you. The place that was in Kemet where new things came out from the ground of the hole. The abyss or Abyssinia, okay? Go and do something new. And then when you come back, though, because every time a person plunges into this new reality, right? It's like going into a hole. We call it wholeness. It's new, so nobody knows what's in there. The only thing that we really can do is like, yo, you strapped up? Yeah, I'm strapped. Yo, you okay? Yeah, I got my talismans and stuff. Yo, you all right? Yeah, I'm just doing it all on breath right now, baby. Yo, what's going on over there? Oh, man, shh. I'm not talking right now. I'm going to be passing now. All right. Okay, what about you? Just eating these goji berries, man, because I know once I get in there. So because all what's going to happen here, because the room is going to go. Like it's something I come to tell you. We have a date with it. I already went. You could go now, but there is a default point in everyone's life when you go over, right? So there is a massive birth that's going to happen, right? So only thing that I'm here doing is preparing you for that birth. I'm not trying to introduce you to anything that is offline and not in part of this, etc. Like I'm just doing my duty. Because the reality is that also, there's a saying that says, I'd rather reign in hell than serve in heaven or something like this. It's an old Faustian term. But what it's meant by this is that the higher states of consciousness are always in service to the lower worlds. Think about it. You can think. So thought is a part of the higher states of consciousness, so it's always being used by the lower world. I think I should do that. So what you're thinking to do is supposedly a higher world, but you're using it. You see? So keep it in line with what exactly is going on, and this is how you'll gain the most power. So in your state of consciousness, if your consciousness is high, you are a servant to the world and to the organism, to the garden, right? In this state, this balanced state, there's no issues with that. Okay, when there's symbiote going on, you're cycling energy, you're planting, you're seeing your stuff grow. You're not seeing ravagers come take all your crops. You plant your seeds, your kids here, you're not watching your kids just go down the drain because some oligarch is teaching them what it wants to teach. Access the power, but it's not in some witchcraft, Satanistic, Aleister book. It's in here. That's what the Muladhara chakra is. It's the hammer of Thor. Look at the rune stone. It's the thuraz, the actual hammer. It's used to defeat any kind of foe. Notice what the urus, it's the strength, the bovid, auroch, still going, still pulling. It's nothing. I'm John Henrying through this, right? That's what we were. And that's why if you watch the DNA, because the DNA is the will, it's your WHEEL, WILL, this whole spiraling motion is the will, right? So if you don't have the will, you don't want to do it. So that's why all the stuff like I don't feel like fasting, I don't feel like cleansing, I don't feel like buying these supplements, I don't feel like doing this, I don't feel like doing that, it's because the will is broke. When the will is broke, it can roll through it. It's just like easy. Notice what we're talking about. A wheel is circular, so when it's not broke, it rolls through things with ease. It's actually more inclined to just rolling over. Notice the wheel on a circle. It's just like, I want to roll over, right? But when it's broke, it gets stuck. And then it doesn't want to move. And it stays in a state of consciousness, believing that everything that it thinks is true is the only thing that's true. This is the negative side to the root chakra. That's why I call it Bao. Bao, the ball, is the ball, okay? Is the bull god, okay? Fiery, hot, upset. And this is something I also want to tell you. There's a difference, and we're going to take a break here because I think this is a part that I'm going to save for when we're going through the books. But there's a difference between the Kundalini of the West, which is hot like fire, okay? It burns. You touch things, you're hot, and this whole area is hot like heat. Right? Then the Kundalini of the East, which is actually cold fusion, right? They know what they're doing. So to Tibetans, the lamas, they're sitting up there on the top of the Alps or top of the Himalayas, right? It's super cold. No problem. Why? Because the energy they're used to dealing with is a cold fire. It's what they call the center of the earth, the vril, okay? That whole energetic force, odinic force as they call it, is cold. So understand, in this, there are two forces that appear as the same thing. And that's why I was saying this old Baphomet is just a symbolism. It's an androgynous energy. It has a cold fire and then a hot fire, or a cold light and a hot light. That would be the best way to put it. So we're going to go and take a break here for a second. Obviously, we've got off to a great start. We only have 30 minutes left for the show. I'm going to go over what we introduced in the manual, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap things up with some phone calls in case someone wants to call in. Don't call in now. We're calling towards the end of the show, but the number is area code 585-653-6979. That's 585-653-6979. Maybe someone can put that in the chat box. Remember, there's no question that can be answered. I'm dullest when I'm here doing the reciting of what I've already learned for this week. So I would love to actually intuitively assist you with understanding the keys or the major questions that generally get a person's will stuck in a rut. So let's move you out of that rut. Let's get you perpetual. Let's let you realize how to use both of these dualistic forces, merge them together, like Dynamo Jack says, between his root chakra and the Dantain, collapsing all the chakras down like Russian dolls. Once you mold them together, then this compacted ball of power, okay? This, your gem, your jewel. Okay, it gives off infinite energy, so there's no need to protect it. See, the real key here is that fear is about protection, right? So they can't come close to it. You pack that thing down in a tight ball of energy and because it's a generator. What is generators? The power and the strength of the generator is based on the winding of the coil, right? So they take the copper wire, which is your muscles, right? All the muscles and fine twitch muscles, the copper, right? Flesh, they used to relate this to the serpent, right? All those microfiber tubes, right? When they get wound down tight, right? Wound tight, and then boom, you turn the generator on, efficient, powerful. It doesn't overheat, because remember, when if the coil windings are not tightened down properly, that space in between creates friction, right? Remember, they model all of this stuff after us. When that friction is created, that friction generates heat. He's a fire god then, okay? Actually, the term is correct, God, good. You go into the lower world, to the Muladhara, somewhere deep, twisted, right? And then hot, angry, upset, wanting to pour forth anger. God of the Bible. Always hot, symbolized by fire, fiery father, fear. You see? So realize we're in a system that the number one way of thought is wrong. And for those who say it is wrong, they are not liked. So it gives you an idea where you are. I'll see you in a second.